Hi, Paul Hefty here with 493 coaching course at Penn State. We're going to do a quick overview of the PowerPoint for Principles of Physical Training, fitness plans that's on your portfolio and addressing for your athletes. We'll address some athletic training staff and support structure, some risk management in sports and nutrition, adaptive athlete training, some fitness training terms and foundation, and then having a plan for your portfolio design. First, steps to safety 101. You want to look at designing an emergency action plan. This is both looking at facilities, equipment, or prevention and care for your athletes. So it's as simple as having contact persons or steps in case an emergency would happen. A real good thing to do is actually design a simple card with communication, and then that would be something that your coaches would carry with them wherever they're at. Next thing is then addressing risk management in your portfolio is you need to look at your athletic trainers' roles for this project. You assume you have trainers available, medical personnel. You want to look at designing a facility and equipment inspection checklist, and then that emergency action plan. Make sure you're addressing those developmental areas we talked about at the beginning of physical, psychological, and social. Looking at the long-term versus short-term concerns of your athletes. Head injuries, obviously, you did the concussion certs, so again, should have some information there. Don't forget to address that in the portfolio with risk management. Again, treatment and recovery, it's simple as making sure you remove the athlete from play, and then knowing that 90% of head injuries will recover fully within 7 to 10 days, so you've got to stay away from rushing them back. Heat illness, again, is something that you may or may not with your sport have a concern with. Do your research and your certifications. Here's the symptoms, very clear, very simple, but more important, look at being proactive and have preventive hydration information. Just making sure you're having 12 ounces of water 30 minutes before the activity and drinking 10 ounces every 15 minutes. You've got to replace the liquids. Sport nutrition. This is some information from Kate Ness, who's a nutrition student that took your course. Again, this is a great area to address in your physical training and fitness plans and in your risk management. But three differences between athletes and general publics is athletes need more calories, more fluids, and more protein. So make sure you're fueling your body with proper fuel. Skin will talk about how to eat, how much you should eat. It'll talk about nutrition timing. It'll talk about your pre-workout meals and snacks. This is a great thing to put into your fitness training piece. Again, how to avoid eating before a workout, and then post-exercise eating as well. One of the areas you're always going to have to address is supplements and should have a position. Kate will talk about that. And then lastly, you can do a workshop where you start to develop a safety plan, not only for your athletes, but for every part of the program. Again, this is a risk management template you can use, again, addressing the equipment, safety needs, your safety of your athletes, and then the rules for your staff and your training, and then that emergency action plan. Again, preseason and season and postseason. When we get into adaptive outreach in sport, it's kind of a challenge, but what you're looking for is inclusiveness within sport. There's a great video here with Roanne Murphy, who's a PSU grad. Lawman was a wrestler here and actually does motivational speaking and Nike commercial now. So one of the things we want to understand with adaptive athletes in action is that all people have the right to participate. And in fact, as coaches, you have a responsibility and are required to create accommodations for those athletes with disabilities. So the key here is trying to find ways to successfully include them. That's what we struggle with. It's real simple. Have the right attitude and willingness to try. And then more importantly, you can develop an environment that helps everyone's abilities versus disabilities. Some tips is to embrace the opportunity, focus on the positives, just like our positive discipline. Treat athletes as an athlete. Develop goals, realistic goals, and challenging goals. Empower the disabled athlete to be a leader. There's some great examples of that. Develop strategies and techniques by working together. Just ask the athlete what they can't do, what they're willing to try, what they're willing to be challenged by. And you can learn a lot in these accommodations and setup. Do your research. Find out what other people have done. Don't just wing it. Do some quality research. Make sure that you find those similarities that you've all got, all your athletes do, and then foster independence, and then see the advice. Again, educate yourself and your team with quality research. So one of the things you want to do is simply go back to that template on risk management you made, and now add an adaptive quality. Again, think about the 3 developmental areas, but more importantly, look at ways to empower and incorporate and let that person lead in the design of your risk management plan. Again, find the positives versus the negatives. Resources here, right here at Penn State, we're one of the leaders in the field of adaptive sport. Terry Jordan runs a program with our Disabled Sports Then USA is another great resource, and then the National Center on Physical Activity and Disability. When we get into physical training seasons, remember you want to talk about the 3: preseason, in-season, and in-season can be broken up into 2, 3, or 4 parts, depending on the uniqueness of your sport, and then your postseason. So again, you want to take the sport divided into those 3 phases, and then start to list some fitness goals, start to look at core fitness activities, the frequency and intensity of those, and then develop some basic warm-up and cool-down routines. So here again is a grid and a template that you can start to fill out with that for your physical training fitness plan. Some basics, again, just terms. Make sure fitness for sport, you understand, is the ability to meet those physical demands. Physical fitness, again, is a state that the body is in and are at any particular time. So therefore, fitness is transient, and you need to create these training cycles to get some peak condition for your major competitive events. Again, the reason we're doing this better performance is it talks about less fatigue, quicker recovery, less sore muscles, and we're just greater ability to practice technical and tactical skills longer and better. Again, less susceptibility to injury, the recovery, prevention, but again, it creates self-confidence when you're physically fit and you know it's done the right way, and then you can have greater enjoyment. These are just the terms, the components of physical fitness: energy fitness, anaerobic, aerobic, muscular fitness. Make sure you understand and talk about these terms. Again, what is strength? Maximum amount of force that a muscle can generate to a single effort. Endurance, again, it's unique for each different sport. Speed, again, the myth is speed is inherited. It can be improved through proper training. Reaction time, movement time, power, again, when you increase the strength and the speed in your training program, you increase the power. Again, don't forget flexibility and balance, static balance, dynamic balance, and then agility type activities. So again, the workshop, start to develop a chart to determine the unique demands of your sport in regards to energy and muscular fitness, and then you start to designate low, medium, high for each area, and that way then you've done your research and can uniquely put that to your sport. Remember, there's 6 things in the design phase of your training program: choice, order, intensity, volume, frequency, and the length of rest. Don't forget rest. It's part of your workout. Make sure you have a warm-up phase, a cool-down phase, and again, these are just different training principles that you want to make sure you take into account. They're on the PowerPoint. I'm not going to talk about them this time, but again, if you want to take notes or back for references, these are some principles you can get into. Lastly then, you can get into the workshop where you take the sport and divide it into those 3 phases and start to look at those unique demands that we talked about at the beginning, listing your fitness goals for each phase, the core fitness activities for each phase, prioritize, look at the frequency and intensity, and then develop those basic warm-up and cool-down routines. And there's the grid for that. Hopefully now you've got a good overview of fitness training and your fitness plans for for your program and looked at the unique needs. Thanks.